All right, let's jump right into it. Today's deep dive is a little different.
Ugh.
Yeah, we're taking a trip down memory lane.
Oh, I like the sound of that.
Specifically, Westfield.
Westfield, you say?
We've got a treasure trove of memories and stories, from people who actually lived it. All those places, businesses, the experiences, those things that made Westfield what it was.
The power of place. It's amazing how certain spots can evoke such vivid memories, emotions.
Isn't it? Okay, so get this. We've got to start with the drain.
The drain.
Picture this. A hangout spot in the basement of the Presbyterian church.
Oh, wow. That's quite the image.
Right. People are sharing memories of learning Foursquare there like their first time. Local bands rocking out. Even the founder, Jim Coles himself, was known to bum cigarettes.
It makes you think about what draws teenagers to certain spaces, right?
Totally. Like carving out their own little world. And we see this pop up again and again in the memories.
Oh, how so?
Well, there's the dungeon at the Baptist church.
Well,
Oh, and the Devil's Den at the YMCA.
it sounds like Westfield teens had a knack for finding those kind of like hidden, maybe slightly rebellious spots.
Definitely adds to the mystique, doesn't it? Makes those memories stick.
Right.
Okay, but Westfield wasn't all about those kind of places.
Of course not.
We've got Duke's Subs,
Ah, a classic.
right? And there's this ongoing debate in the memories. Duke's or Hershey's? Which one was better? I mean, someone even remembers specifically ordering the #7.
The #7. Now I'm curious. Food memories, they're so powerful, aren't they?
Absolutely. Just the mention of a place or a dish can take you right back. All right, ready for a movie?
Always.
The Rialto Theater. It's coming up a lot of the memories. Double features, sneaking in through the side door.
Oh.
Oh, and this mention of the LICE movie experience. Intriguing, right?
Very. It's these little details that really bring the past to life, don't you think?
Completely. And then we have the Ghost Pond. Ice skating in the winter, swimming in the summer, even a few, spooky stories floating around about it.
Sounds like it was the place to be no matter the season. Those places that really hold a community's memories, the shared experiences.
Speaking of which, have you seen these awesome T-shirts?
T-shirts.
Yeah, they feature a bunch of these iconic Westfield landmarks. You got the Drain, Duke's, the Rialto, all on one design. Like a blast from the past,
What a great way to celebrate those shared memories, that sense of place.
Right. You can find a link to check them out in the video description below. All right, let's get back to those memories. We got Roots popping up. Everyone remembers going there for candy.
Roots.
Yeah, and then there's Woolworths. Apparently you get anything there. Candy, school supplies, even pets. Like the Amazon of its day.
It's fascinating how certain businesses become so integral to a town's identity and how they evolve or disappear as times change.
True. We also got the Leader Store, all the sporting goods, people are remembering specific brands and items, that personal connection.
It makes sense, right? For a lot of kids in Westfield, that was probably where they got their first baseball glove, their first pair of sneakers.
Definitely. And the memories just keep coming. Ted's Smoke Shop, the music staff for records and concerts, Jeanette's, even the Ho Ho Kitchen. It's like every corner held a memory.
It really speaks to the richness and diversity of life in Westfield. Even back then, all these individual stories woven together. It's like a tapestry, isn't it?
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got those hangouts, the businesses, but what about those events?
Yeah.
The traditions that brought everyone together.
The heartbeat of a community, marking time, creating those shared experiences.
Exactly. We've got mentions of the Memorial Day parades, high school Christmas pageants, even bonfires before the big Thanksgiving football games.
Creating a sense of belonging, connecting to something bigger than yourself.
And of course, the Blue Devils, that high school football team.
Ah, yes, the pride of Westfield.
People remembering star players, Coach Keeler, the tradition of honking car horns after a win. The whole town rallied behind them.
Sports can do that, can't they? Bring a community together like nothing else.
For sure. But it wasn't all about those organized events.
Oh.
People remembering just riding their bikes everywhere, playing box hockey at Roosevelt, ice skating at Mindawaskan Park, or even just cutting through backyards to get to Tamox Park.
It speaks to a different pace of life, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little more carefree, maybe. And who could forget those old phone numbers with the 82 and 83 prefixes?
Oh, I remember those.
Yeah.
A little reminder of a time before cell phones took over.
Right. Okay, before we get into some of those more unique memories that have surfaced, let's just pause for a second. The power of these stories. It's amazing. It's like we're building a time capsule of Westfield, capturing those everyday moments that often get lost,
It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? To preserve those memories, to connect with the past in such a personal way.
Absolutely. And there's so much more to uncover. But that's for next time.
You know, it really is amazing. Like all these little pieces, they fit together. They paint this incredible picture of Westfield.
It's like we're putting together a puzzle, right? But a puzzle made of memories. And speaking of puzzles, there are a few memories that have us scratching our heads. Like, what about this park conspiracy?
Park conspiracy, that's definitely a head scratcher. It sounds a little bit like maybe a clothing store.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, popular with teenagers in the 60s and 70s. Maybe a little bit of a counterculture vibe.
Makes sense. Even in Westfield, you always have those pockets of those who want to go against the grain a little bit.
Always pushing boundaries, right.
Right. And speaking of pushing boundaries, we've also got Shades and Nirvana.
Those names definitely have a certain ring to them.
Yeah, definitely suggest a connection to that, like youth culture of the time.
A little bit of an edge. Maybe music venues, hangouts.
Exactly. And then there's the Silver Mine.
Ooh, silver mine. Now that's intriguing.
It is, right? Sounds kind of mysterious.
It does make you wonder, like, what was it? Some kind of hidden gem? A vintage shop? Antique store?
Who knows? Maybe some memories are better left, a little bit mysterious.
A little unsolved mystery adds to the allure, right?
It does. But, okay, not all the memories are filled with those happy, nostalgic feelings.
Oh.
Yeah, the name John List keeps coming up.
John List. Well, it's a dark chapter for Westfield, isn't it?
It is, yeah. The murders of his family back in 1971, it really shook the community. And it seems like, that shadow still lingers.
A reminder that even in a place like Westfield, tragedy can strike.
It's true. And it's important to acknowledge that part of the story, too.
Right.
But, okay, let's get back to some lighter memories.
Sounds good to me.
So we got the Soapbox Derby on Gallows Hill Road,
Oh, that's a classic.
the Whistling Policeman, and tons of places for ice skating, Mindawaskan Park, Tamox Park, even Ghost Pond and Gumpert Field.
It's like a winter wonderland, isn't it? All those ice skating spots.
It is. And it just makes you think about those simple joys, the
Yeah.
crisp winter air gliding across the ice.
Sensory memories. Those are the ones that really stay with you.
Absolutely. And speaking of sensory memories, let's talk about school.
Yeah, school days.
People are remembering specific teachers, principals, even phone numbers, and all the little details that, come flooding back when you think about those years.
It's amazing how those seemingly insignificant things can trigger such vivid memories.
Yeah.
Like the sound of the school bell, the smell of the cafeteria.
I know, right? And there's this real sense of camaraderie in those school memories.
Oh, so.
Like people talking about plays, talent shows, sports teams, even the occasional cafeteria food fight.
A classic.
It seems like, school was more than just a place to learn. It was like a little world of its own.
A microcosm of the community, right?
Totally. And within that community, we see this little playful rivalry emerging between the north side and the south side.
Oh, the classic north side versus south side. Every town has that, it seems like.
It's like these, geographic boundaries. They become almost like cultural territories.
Yeah.
Adding another layer to that sense of belonging and identity.
Exactly. It's all part of the local flavor, right? Those little rivalries, they add to the story.
They do. Okay, and speaking of local pride, we can't forget about Butch Woolfolk.
Butch Woolfolk. Oh, the football star.
Went on to play for the New York Giants.
Yeah.
A true Westfield legend.
A homegrown hero. It's always inspiring to see those local success stories, isn't it? Like, it shows that anything is possible, no matter where you come from.
Definitely. Okay, before we move on, there's one memory I want to come back to.
Oh, which one?
The story of those teenagers who volunteered with Church World Service. They traveled all the way to Maryland to help process recycled clothing.
That's quite a story. What about it stood out to you? It really makes you think about, like, the social awareness. Back then in the 60s, these teenagers, they weren't just, hanging out. They were engaging with, like, real issues beyond their own little world.
Pretty amazing, right?
It is. And then that experience with segregation during their trip, it just highlights how powerful those firsthand encounters can be.
Like really opening their eyes to the struggles of others.
Exactly. It's not just about reading about things in a textbook. It's about experiencing them,
Absolutely. And, kind of connects back to those earlier memories of church basements as teen hangouts.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Like maybe those spaces weren't just about, fun and games. Maybe there were also places where, like, social change could take root.
That's a really interesting perspective, yeah. It adds a whole other dimension to those spaces, doesn't it?
It does. Okay, so we've talked about a lot, but I want to touch on those little everyday details.
Hmm.
You know, the ones that really make these memories come alive.
Those little quirks, those unique things that make a place special.
Exactly. Like someone remembers the exact phone number prefix, 232 or 233, and someone else mentions the fire hydrants painted like colonial patriots.
I love those little details. They tell you so much about a place, don't they? The personality, the creativity.
Totally. And then there are those simple pleasures that, define daily life in Westfield, walking to town, cruising through Friendly's parking lot to see what was happening, or just hanging out at Roots.
It sounds so idyllic, doesn't it? Like a slower pace of life.
Yeah, and we see a few mentions of hooky, which always makes me smile. I wonder what kind of adventures people got up to when they skipped school.
Oh, the stories of teenage mischief. They're always the best, aren't they? A little bit of rebellion, a little bit of fun.
Exactly. Okay, and of course, we can't talk about Westfield without talking about the food.
Oh, the food. It's like a whole other category of memories, right?
Totally. We already talked about Dukes and Hershey's, but there's so much more. Someone even requested the recipe for Timmy's potato salad from Elm Street Deli.
That's hilarious. Some things are just too good to forget, huh?
They are. Okay, before we wrap things up, I want to circle back to the drain one last time.
The drain. What about it?
That mysterious basement hangout. It really captures the imagination. It makes you think about how back then churches played a bigger role in, like, providing social spaces for teenagers.
It does make you wonder, doesn't it? Like, have we lost something in our modern world, with all the technology and social media?
Have we traded those real face-to-face connections for something less tangible?
It's a good question to think about, that's for sure.
It is. As we reflect on all these Westfield memories, it's worth considering how we can create those spaces for connection and belonging in our communities today. Like, how do we make sure that future generations have their own drains, their own Rialtos, their own Duke subs?
How do we keep that spirit alive, even as things change?
Exactly. Well, this has been an amazing journey down memory lane. Thanks for joining us as we explored the heart of Westfield, one memory at a time. And don't forget, you can keep those memories alive with our special line of nostalgic t-shirts. You'll find the link in the video description below.
And be sure to share your own favorite Westfield memories in the comments. We'd love to hear them.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep connecting, and keep those memories alive.